Panchakalptaruvishya kripa sindhuvevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna Maharaj, and very warm welcome to Partsarthi Foundation. It is our immense pleasure and I would say very good luck today that we will be able to hear the Katha, the Bhagavad Gita from your lotus mouth. You are Maharaj. Okay, I'm able to. Okay. So I will just give a brief introduction, although I'm not capable, but I have been provided this service. I have been asked by His Grace Harila Prabhu and Her Grace from Prem Priya Padma Mataji. For those of you, I'm pretty sure everyone knows Maharaj. For those of you who are new here, His Holiness Hanuman Prekshit Swami Maharaj, Professor H.H. Robinson, was born 1958 on the Pacific island of Guam. His parents
48.
1948. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Pacific island of Guam. His parents were working there at the end of World War II. He grew up in Arizona and California and graduated with the first place prize in psychology from the University of California in 1971. He started his doctoral studies at Northwestern University, but his advisor, Professor Donald Campbell, suggested that if he was really interested in psychology, then he should head east. Following these instructions, he eventually met Srila Prabhupada and took first and second initiation and then sannyas from His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami. With Maharaj, he worked in area of preaching Bhagavad philosophy through science and the Vedas. He has continued preaching in this area as well as other cultural areas, forming NIOS, North American Institute for Oriental and Classical Studies, in 2004. Maharaj has been going around globally and preaching in multiple languages and to people around the globe about the glories of Sri Krishna. So it is immense fortune today, Maharaj, that we have your association. We beg your mercy and please, please allow us to welcome you in Partsarthi Foundation, Maharaj. Thank you so much. We are very fallen servant. Please provide us mercy of Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Let me see what I got here.
Hare Krishna,
I'll
Krishna
share my
Krishna.
screen. Okay. Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan.
Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinata Madana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava
Bhagavata Gita.
Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha.
Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraghunatha.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraghunatha.
Haraye, oh no, it goes to show. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
So this is our culture. What do we believe in? Well, Christians believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. And if you're following Islam or if you're following science, there's certain fundamental principles. So for us, we believe in Hari Guru, Hari Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata Gita. So we believe in God, Hari, Guru, Acharyas, Vaishnava, the association of devotees, Bhagavata, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Gita. Gita, you know. So Bhagavad Gita, very, very principal to our culture, no? And we've been informed, of course, other people may know these things better than we do, but basically, amongst Vedic scholars and Indologists, and also Prabhupada also, that there are three very important sources of confirmation for any idea, any culture, any community. If you are Dayananda Saraswati or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, then you have to base your ideas on three things. You know, was it Prestan Trione, Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is very, very principled, very principled. And of course, here we have the introduction to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, which of course is much bigger than Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, you know, if you're from India, you can buy a little copy which will fit in your shirt pocket from Gita Press. It's only, 400 verses. Yeah? But of course, then we have Devanagari text, we have English transliteration, word by word transliteration, translation, and then the Bhaktivedanta purports. And of course, those are very interesting. We can talk about them when we look at the text we're looking at today. But they include things. They go beyond Bhagavad Gita. They include citations from Srimad Bhagavatam, from other Upanishads. They include citations from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the Bhagavad Gita, as it is actually a pretty thorough, advanced text. You know, taking the basic fundamental text of Bhagavad Gita and then expanding them. Yeah. So when we can all chant together here. Om Agyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Tapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Didati Swapadantikam. So this verse, as we understand it, I think it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is the verse which establishes Rupa Goswami as the Acharya after Lord Chaitanya. And Rupa Goswami, because many people claim to be followers of Lord Chaitanya. We one time we went with our friend Professor Samaresh Bandopajaya to the Ramakrishna mission, Balormat, or wherever it was. And there was the room where Ramakrishna left his body, and they're preserving it. And along the walls, you know, sometimes in India they hang the pictures sort of kind of tilted inwards. But all around the room there were pictures. But I noticed right at the foot of his bed was a picture of Gaurnatai, picture of Gaurnatai. And he also commented directly, you know, that they are definitely God, you know. But someone claims to be a follower of Lord Chaitanya, but we're claiming here by this verse, no. Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Jena Bhutalai Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam. That somebody who's claiming to be a follower of Lord Chaitanya has to be doing that under the guidance of Rupa Goswami. So we'll call Rupa Nugas. And continuing. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunath Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakanvitam Cha. So very, very complete. Guru, our spiritual master, all of our acharyas, the six Goswamis, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaitacharya, Savaduta, Nityananda, and Radha Krishna with Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagapate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi, Radhe Brindobanishvari, Rishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patinam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Shri Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai. Of course, we're using database.io here, and the founder and the manager is Prahlad Nrsimha Das, who we had the honor of initiating. And so it's a very, very nice resource tool. And he says, so many people come here from different places and they read, and a lot of people coming back. So it's a very wonderful resource too. We go to the menu, we go to library, go to Bhagavad Gita, we go to chapter 4, okay? Chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Chapter 4, transcendental knowledge. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, like that. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1 and part of chapter 2, that's the problem. That's the problem. And then the rest of chapter 2, all the way through the 18th chapter, is the solution to the problem. So whenever we're trying to present Bhagavad Gita or discuss it, we have to try to explain that what is the problem. What is the problem? You know, life is based upon problems. You see, so many movies, there's a problem. Yeah, no problem, no program. So it is quite amazing, because the problem that's facing Arjuna is very, very parallel to the problem that's facing Hamlet, maybe the most famous literary work in the English language, Hamlet. You know, Hamlet has to, even kill his superior personalities and chastise them, very strong words. You know, and he doesn't want to do it. He's not sure if he's going to get all kinds of sinful reactions by doing this. You know, and Arjuna is in exactly the same situation. Hamlet says, "Time is out of joint, O cursed spite, that I was ever born to set it right." Yeah. And he comes to a very similar conclusion. He doesn't have a guru. He has a good friend to observe things. He has introspection, yeah, but he doesn't have a guru. So Hamlet's conclusion is, by being taught by the super soul and by circumstances, that all of us have a destiny. All of us have a destiny. Prabhupada says that's how you say karma in the Western culture. All of us have a destiny. And even it might be roughly cut, not that it's very, very tight and you have no choices. No, you have some choices. In the mode of passion, you can see choices, but you're very impelled. In the mode of goodness, okay, you maybe still there are material choices, but you can choose to do things that will take you up, and eventually, make you very qualified to come in contact with transcendental knowledge. Then you're no longer playing with your toys. Now you're playing with real baby. Like, you take care of your toys and your puppy properly, and your parents that you take care of your little brother and sister. So in the beginning, Arjuna's faced with a situation. In the beginning, he's in Maya. He wants to satisfy Draupadi by conquering these people who humiliated her so terribly. Yeah, she's a woman. She's not going to give up until she gets her revenge. Yeah. And then he wants to get back the kingdom for his big brother, who's been so abused also. And he's full of this desire and looking forward, motivated by vengeance, revenge. And of course, Bhima's even more excited, banging the ground, slapping his thighs, looking at Duryodhana. You know. And then he tells with his great arrogance, "Oh, well, Krishna, put me in front of these rascals." So he wants a vibhava. He wants to get some stimulation to increase his anger, because Prabhupada says you cannot fight without anger. So Krishna, okay, Krishna doesn't put him in front of Duryodhana or Dushashana or Karna or what's his name, Sakuni, but he puts him right in front of Bhishma and Dronacharya, who was his sifu, his teacher of martial arts, everything he learned, and he knows that Dronacharya loves him more than he loves his own son. And Bhishma, of course, raised them like little children. And so by doing this, Krishna becomes what's the word? Madan Mohan. He snaps Krishna, Arjuna, out of his limited attachment, and he realizes that it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're struggling to get things selfishly in this world, there's going to be distress or suffering for somebody else. So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. If he fights the battle and loses, okay. But if he walks away from the thing, or he's also going to be unhappy. He can't do that. He's a Kshatriya. And so then he surrenders to Krishna. Sishyas teham sarimam tvam prapanam. Very, very significant. He accepts Krishna as guru. And Krishna then gives up being friendly. It's very important. Then he starts to takes the position and tell him the clear truth. That's guru. Krishna can reciprocate with everybody, but Balaram has to tell the straight truth. And so then he begins to explain, because he tells him fight and do these things. In the second chapter, it's all there. But Prabhupada said, but there's not sufficient knowledge for Krishna to act upon in the second chapter. So third chapter, Krishna starts to talk about vritti, professional devotional service. You can engage in serving me by doing your dharma, Sri Dharma, Kshatriya Dharma, Vaishya Karma, Shudra Karma. Engage your particular karma for my satisfaction. How's it go? Mayi sarvani karmani, Mayi sarva karmani. Do all your karma, your dharma for me. And then you'll become free from reactions. So many things like that. So chapter 3 talks more about what is karma, and we can understand that our particular karma, dharma, persona, whatever persona I have, whatever different personas I'm using. I have one persona when I'm with my family, one persona when I'm in my workplace. They're masks that I change, and they're part of the Virat Rup. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, part of the Virat Rup. Our cosmology includes the psychological elements as also being material. And so karma yoga gives us some idea about how to manipulate them, and how they work, how they function, what is karma, vikarma, akarma. But now coming to chapter 4 today, then it's important because we have to have a little bit more idea about how Krishna is talking, what is the authority of this knowledge, how its depth, its functionality. So then in chapter 1, we start here again. Okay. And why not? I'll go up here to default view. I go to advanced view, and I'll see the verse text and translations and purports. Well, guys, I've got the whole translations. Okay, so please repeat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Imang Vivasvate Yogam
Imam
इमं
Vivasvate
विवस्वते
Yogam
योगम्
Proktavan Ham Avyayam
प्रोक्तवान्
Proktavantavyam
अव्ययम्
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Vivasvan
Vivasvan Manavipraha
Manurikshvakave Bravit.
Manurikshvakave Bravit.
Oliye.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Nuvacha.
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Iman
Vivasvate
Vivasvate
Yogam
Yogam.
Proktavanaham Avyayam
Proktaham Avyayam.
Ahamamvyayam
Vasvan Manave Praha
Vivasvam Manave Praha.
Praha
Swakave Brave
Manurikshvakave
Manurikshvakave
Bravit.
Bravit. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Proktavan Ahamavyayam
Proktaham Avyayam.
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Vivasvan Manave Praha.
Manurikshvakave Bravit.
Manurikshvakave Bravit. Ladies, chant.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Imam Vishwavate Yogam
Imam
Imam
Vivasvate
Vivasvate
Yogam.
Yogam
Proktavan Aham Avyayam
Proktavanaham
Proktavan
Avyayam.
Ahamavyayam
Vivasvan Manavipraha
Vivasvan
Vivasvan Manave
Praha.
Praha
Manurishvaka Vibravit
Manurikshvakave
Manurikshvakave
Bravit.
Bravit.
Ekor. Ekor.
Okay. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Bhagavan Uvacha
Imam Vivasvate Yogam
Imam
Imam
Vivasvate
Vivasvate
Yogam.
Yogam
Proktavanaham Avyayam
Proktavanaham Avyayam.
Ahamamvyayam
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Vivasvan Manave
Vivasvan Manave
Praha.
Praha
Manor Iksva Kave Bravit.
Manurikshvakave
Manurikshvakave
Bravit.
Bravit.
The personality of Godhead Lord Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, and of course in the previous chapter he's talking all about karma and being liberated from sinful reactions and these kinds of things, you know. And I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan. Okay. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu. Okay. Yeah. The father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Okay. Text 2. Evam param praptam imam raja shayo vidahu sakala neha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. And the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken. Yeah. And therefore the science as it appears to be lost. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee, as well as my friend, yeah, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Okay. Arjuna Uvacha. Okay. So maybe you start with these, then tomorrow we can do the other verses. They kind of fall in a natural group here. But these first three verses, one thing is very prominent. In all three verses, Prabhupada says the science of yoga, the science of this, the science of that. You know? So when I was in, brahmachari, everything, at some point, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was going to establish the Bhakti Vedanta Institute in San Francisco, work there for different reasons, with Atreya Rishi, because he liked Berkeley, UC Berkeley, very much. California, he'd been there. So I was, I graduated. I graduated in psychology, but actually I started in electrical engineering at the University of California, which means I had chemistry and quantum mechanics and all these things. But I saw it was limited, compared to what was coming out of all of our contact with Asia and the Vietnam War. So then I changed to biology. Then I was doing upper division mammalian physiology, surgery on rats, and all this stuff. But it was the same very mechanistic model. Okay. So then, okay, what's left? Oh, psychology. So I changed to psychology and had even started a little bit of improvisational theater, which is a whole science. But then I had to graduate. And so then we were, offered full fellowships by UCLA and Northwestern University. And that led us to eventually coming in contact with Prabhupada. And so anyway, I've been through the physical sciences, the life sciences, mental life, and these things, and then became a devotee. And then I came in contact with Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and I was thinking, my goodness, should I go ahead and start working with him and supporting that program? I have some qualifications, but I'd already been through the physical sciences and so on. I as well, my goodness, I didn't really like them at all, really. So I asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj. We were traveling one time with a puppet tour, and he was in New York. And I asked him, I'm thinking about maybe working with Swarup Damodar Maharaj and this science program, and how important is it? So he looked at me with very intense, Tamal Krishna Maharaj glance, and he said, Prabhupada said over and over again for his entire last year, scientific preaching is my #1 preaching program. So yeah, the Mayavad philosophy, the common person won't even hear about that. Some people hear about yoga, and then some people hear about Christianity or whatever their particular monotheistic tradition is. But what everybody is very, very much is so embedded, so deep, so politically supported, and that we don't even realize that we're all, brainwashed, accepting science. Science is how we know. We have to know by the scientific epistemology, by the scientific method. What can we know? Okay, matter. And matter can explain everything. Matter can explain all the biological functions. Physics can explain all of the psychological functions, memory, emotions. They're all a product of the brain, which is a product of chemicals, which can be explained by physics. So this is where really being able to present these things in terms of our own ability and nature, to communicate that science, the study of matter, is okay. We also study matter. That's the first principle. But then we have to point out that matter is not enough to explain things. There is the free will, honor, responsibility, these kind of things that are qualities that are more responsible. We call more human qualities, personal qualities. And so then we have to explain to people about Atma. We talk about matter, Prakriti, Atma. And then finally, Prabhupada is saying in the kind of general atmosphere, we explain Paramatma and Jivatma, which Carl Jung, who we're developing a lot, Prabhupada appreciated a lot, appreciated the same thing. Then he was saying in the university atmosphere, you don't go to Bhagavan because that's too personal. They can't handle that. But they can handle intuition, insight, these kind of concepts, and they're willing to hear about that. And so that's how we know the Paramatma. So in every one of these verses, Prabhupada is saying the imperishable science of yoga. The next one he says, the supreme science was thus received. Okay. The ancient, very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme. Okay. And now he doesn't say the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he says with the Supreme. Bhagavad Gita is Gita Upanishad. It's still an Upanishad. And Prabhupada Singh, it talks about liberation. It talks about, mostly focuses on the soul, on the Paramatma, that kind of relationship. Yes, after seeing the universal form, Arjuna sees the four-arm form, which we can relate to personally. Then for just a short moment, he sees, what's it called? Somya Vapu, a very beautiful form. So there is something there. It's Krishna's beautiful form, and Vaikuntha, Goloka is hinted, but it's not the focus. The Bhagavad Gita is for liberation, for understanding the Paramatma, and then Srimad Bhagavatam begins philosophically and historically where the Bhagavad Gita finishes, like that. Of course, we're studying more than Bhagavad Gita. We're studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, and the purports. And Prabhupada gives us, more of a view, like that. Okay. So, and then these three texts, continuing from the previous chapter, he's giving more, the science of karma, the science of destiny, how to become relieved from these things. He hasn't identified himself too much. So, but here he's beginning to. So he says, he's giving what Prabhupada says in the purport, that, I guess I got to just click on it here. Okay. Back on text 1. Okay. Prabhupada says, herein we find the history of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. This is it then. This is the history of the science that Krishna is presenting, this philosophy, this culture, traced from remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets. So Prabhupada then amplifies this point. Who was it given to? Well, it was given to this person. That thing went on. And he'll talk about the different eras and how long, and calculating how long Bhagavad Gita has been around. That it's not something concocted with somebody's mental speculation, somebody's mental ideas, and so on. That's one of the points he makes very clearly, that this is coming through disciplic succession, making very clear our parampara, that yes, you can have books and you can have so many things, but the teacher is always there guiding you how to use the textbook, Guru, sadhu, and shastra. But principle is shastra. Guru and sadhu talk on the basis of shastra. This is not ink on paper, Prabhupada said. This is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we worship him by our intelligence, not with incense, not with lamps, not with, even with mental, by implying our minds. We have to imply our intelligence, buddhi. We have to understand these things, develop a logical understanding, a perspective. And it sinks in, then we see the world differently. We experience the world differently. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param. And eventually we can see how everything has to be caused by a person. We have purified intelligence. And of course, then Krishna's in our heart, and then he's actually a person. So like Arjuna, we can become so fortunate to have him personally present, but also we can experience his presence. Chintamani Premanjana Bhakti Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. We can experience his presence, personal presence, as Shama Sundar, through the material world, through the Paramatma, through the scripture, and be guided at every moment quite intimately. It's like Arjuna in the middle of a battle, be guided every moment on how to react, what to say, what to do, everything like that. So Prabhupada's talking about this history, and he's saying that he calculates, and somewhere down here, I think maybe in here he says it, here he calculates, and he says, okay, accepting, accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god. A rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago. Of course, that's different time standard. Time, even time is we're calculating in terms of space and all these things. How far do you go? That's what time is. Time and space are correlative terms. And mathematics and science also agrees on this. So this is this is going back through the Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and so on. And so therefore we have to understand that time is a little bit different thing here. And we're talking to the scientists and explaining it. But basically, yes, it's been around for a long time, and maybe it'll have different names. We have the Uddhava Gita, we have the Gopi Gita, we have the Bhagavad Gita. But the fun, and even where we were looking at, for example, the conversation between Maharaj Rahugana and Jadabharat. It's almost like Bhagavad Gita. It's very simple. He's also talking to a warrior, to a king. And so very, very similar to the content and level of development of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, again, is very basic principles. And then though Prabhupada illuminates those in terms of how they will be useful in terms of explaining Bhagavatam and so on. So here we see that Krishna is pointing out, Prabhupada is pointing out, that this has been around for a long, long time. It's not some modern invention like communism or Marxist philosophy or, what's the word, transcendental meditation, or so many different philosophies that people produce recently and become very proud. And then he also points out that, look, who he spoke it to. What's in the very beginning here? If we go back to the beginning, and we see, okay. And he says here, it was okay. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants. And therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust. So we look at the modern world, and there's Putin, Biden, Modi, who else we got? The Prime Minister of England, Prince Harry. And all over the world, there are leaders, but even if maybe they are sincere to some degree, they have so much influence. How can they control themselves? They want to satisfy the citizens so they can stay in power. But meantime, they want to go ahead and enjoy themselves with palatial residences and fame and respect. There's so many sources like that. So they're not doing their principal job, which is to protect the citizens and control them so they can become free from the influence of lust, which is passion, and sense gratification, which is ignorance, which results. And they can then to endeavor and discover what is the real purpose of life. The purpose of life is to undergo austerities, to get free from material entanglement and go back home, back to Godhead. And these purports here, Prabhupada talks about that yes, that we're going back and we have to revive our relationship with Krishna. He talks about it a little bit, about the idea of rasa and reviving our relationship with Krishna as a person, But he doesn't again go into details of what that means. Of course, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu goes so much detail, and in the Bhagavatam, describing the different sentiments and feelings. So this is not middle speculation. It's coming down through it's authoritatively talking by somebody who knows what's going on. By using our God-given intelligence, like Hamlet, we can come to certain conclusions. But Prabhupada is explaining that's good for Paramatma realization, Brahman, Paramatma. But to really understand Krishna and who we are, that we are related to Krishna, then that requires Krishna's mercy in the form of Guru or Krishna coming and enlivening us and giving us a taste. And it's very old. What else? I think that's about all. The age, and then then he gives some other sources, which are just amplifying and then clarifying these ideas. And the Brahma Samhita and the Mahabharata is giving the same age to this work. Okay. Succession, disciplic succession. And then text 2. Okay. So, meant for saintly kings. Yes. And he's saying so many people have different motivations. You know, is the demons. The demons they may be very nice. They may be very externally very generous in so many ways, but still at heart, because they're really concerned with enjoying, even if it's being famous as altruistic persons, they can't understand. They just can't appreciate. They have no real personal relationship with anybody, really. Anybody who's coming and glorifying them and everything else, it's because they want something. They want something. They want to imagine that they're close to you and that they're actually can also experience with the things that you have that they're glorifying. Suddenly they're envious. So if we can't appreciate somebody who's right around us as a person, then how do we expect to appreciate the supreme person? Yeah. So the demons cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. And of course, some demons, they do understand it and they hate Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Finally, 4.3. Saivayam mayam tunde. Okay. And now the qualification for Arjuna to hear the knowledge is because he's Krishna's friend and he's a devotee. It's not that Krishna is a very egotistic person and he only gives secrets to people who worship him and flatter him. No, our nature is that we are servants. Our nature is that we are lovers and we're looking to find somebody. We're not the enjoyers. This movie is not about us. This movie is all about Krishna. Yeah. And so Krishna, he wants us to worship him and everything else because that's our nature. He's very humble. He's renounced. And so when we do that, then he's possible. Then it's possible for him to communicate with us because we're in the proper attitude. Okay. So it's kind of a little summary of these verses then. It fits into the chapter at this point because, Krishna is starting to give more and more discussion of epistemology. Where this knowledge has come from, what is its character, who spoke it, like that, and pretty much is very simple, what he's spoken so far about karma yoga and these kind of things. So any questions or comments here? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama.
Rama, Hare Rama.
So Maharaj, we will take some questions. So request to devotees that please raise your hand. So you can ask the questions to Maharaj. Haribol.
Or complaints also. We're also accepting complaints or comments also. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, can I take the question answer session? Or
Yes.
Mandini Mataji will take it?
I don't know where you say you can take it, Mataji.
Okay, yes, Mataji, you can take it. Mataji, if you are available, please go ahead, Mataji.
No, Mataji, you can go ahead. Please take it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maharaji, for a very, very wonderful session, Maharaji. And you explain all the 3 verses very explainedly and very nicely, Maharaji. And apart from that, we get your Vani association as well as your darshan also. So it's make our day. So thank you so much, Maharaji, for everything. I request to all the devotees, if you have any question, any realization, please raise your hands and feel free to ask to Maharaji. Madhu Manjuri Mataji, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I have a question related to the different sampradayas or different people who sincerely approach to the study of Bhagavad Gita, even the Vedas. And in that way, there is different perspective in understanding this science. I wonder how will be or what will be the ideal way to interact with this perspective for our growth in the spiritual life without disregarding their bona fide quality that can contribute to our spiritual life, despite of being sometimes different from our own sampradaya.
Lord Chaitanya Prabhupada says, I think it's only in the Nectar of Instruction, that only the followers of Lord Chaitanya can appreciate the importance of Radhakund, you know. So yeah, there are different sampradayas. Every single one of us is different in our own particular relationship with Krishna. Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Earth, they're all receiving, energy from the same sun, right? But they have different distances, different atmospheres, different sizes, different speeds of rotation, different things. So every single person has a different religion. Re ligare. We have ligaments, right? Re ligare. Religion means to reconnect. It means exactly the same thing as yoga, to reconnect. And then it's disciplic succession. And so we of course understand four Vaishnava Sampradaya, Nimbark Swami, Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya, and Sri Sampradaya with Ramanujacharya. And basically that's how in this world people can have knowledge of Krishna as, Bhagavan. But even amongst those, then there's different variety of their realizations. And Lord Chaitanya, I think, was taking one aspect from each of those four acharyas to make together his whole presentation and so on. So, we take, it's again in different schools, they're all teaching different things. So but finally you matriculate in one school and you say, okay, this is the school I want to study at, the teaching, I want to become a lawyer, this is the best school, and the language and so many things, And so then we're baptized or take diksha in that particular tradition, and we be becoming purified and everything else, And again, as we become purified, when we get out of the material world, then maybe we're supposed to belong to a different. Maybe we're supposed to go to Vaikuntha. The Brihad Bhagavat Amrita is describing different levels of development with Gopakumar, and he comes to Hanuman. And Hanuman is talking all about things, and Murari Gupta, he realized Lord Chaitanya was Lord Ramachandra. He realized that, But he was absorbed in a certain position, a certain service. Yeah, you can increase it unlimitedly. But Krishna loves to play Sita Ram. They become Radha and Krishna become so happy playing Sita and Ram with the cowherd boys and everybody else that they don't want to stop. So what happens? So they expand themselves. And so when what's his name, Ramananda Roy is describing all these different levels and different groups and different perspectives, he finally comes to Vrindavan after talking about all these different places, Vaikuntha and, Allah, who else, Jehovah, Shriman Narayan, Mahavishnu, Shiva. People have different kinds of comprehensions. Some are transcendental. Then he comes to Vrindavan and he says, okay, there are different intensities. Now because Lord Chaitanya says, well, tell me something more if you know more than just about Vrindavan. He says, well, yes, even within Vrindavan, there are different hierarchies. But he says you can actually only appreciate these from tatastha sta, from a neutral position. In a neutral position, you can say, oh yes, Sakya-ras is more intense than Dasya-ras. Vatsalya-ras is more intense. Yeah. And he said, but that's from a neutral position. But when you get to Vrindavan, who's in a neutral position? Everybody's in their position. There's even a verse in the Nectar of Devotion where Prabhupada says that Sakya Ras is a very unique rasa, practically speaking, almost the same as Madhurya Ras. And people say you're emphasizing Madhurya Ras because all of your acharyas are in Madhurya Ras, And of course, we argue with the Nimbarka Sampradaya, which is what It's not, it'll come back anyway. Pushti mark. Yeah.
Vallabha.
Yeah, and they're saying that that Mother Yashoda loves Krishna more than Radharani. So basically, what we're arguing about is who loves Krishna more, his girlfriend or his mother. You know, it's like a really, really bizarre argument. Who loves Krishna more, his mommy or his sweetheart? You know, you see, it's like strange, bizarre thing. But it's a very subtle thing at that point. So that's kind of, I think, some perspective. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if we're at the church, the somebody's place of worship, where they're worshiping God, like Christian or Muslim, at the time of worship, then we should think like this: the same God I'm worshiping is being worshipped here, and I can understand. Then I can get benefit. Okay, they've got this nice point. I want to use that in my worship of Krishna. I want to bring these things back. The whole Bhakti Vriksha program that Jayapataka Maharaj brought is from a Methodist church or a Baptist church in Asia. So yeah, but we take these things, so we know about everybody else, and we take the things that are appropriate for our worship, our particular institution, if we're at that level, and so on. But then he goes on and says, but because I belong to a specific tradition, I won't be participating in the details of this worship like that, and so on. So is that some idea? Does that relate to your question at all?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, thank you. I like the part that you mentioned about Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his approach and appreciation of different ways of worshiping, and how we can appreciate and learn from them. How can I incorporate some practice in my own personal spiritual practices? Thank you so much for that, Guru Maharaj.
You sent us that link to the movie Dinner with a Perfect Stranger.
Yeah.
that was such a nice movie, very nice. And even the movie that she's eating his prasad and stuff, it was just so many nice things, yeah. And so again, after we're liberated, we may discover that, okay, I'm actually a Ram Bhakta. Okay, so Prabhupada's not gonna, Lord Chaitanya didn't force Murari Gupta Hanuman to become a Krishna Bhakta in that sense, but to go on with your relationship, and it's just good. Oh yeah, so what Ramananda Roy finishes off by saying, and so that ultimately in Tatasta style you can make these differences. He says, but actually the best relationship with Krishna is your relationship, like that. And we figure that out, and then we can start adding these things. We can add Madhurya Ras, but it's in our relationship like that. So any other comments or questions here? Yeah.
Yes, Maharaji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much, Maharaji. Devendra Krishna Prabhuji, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask your question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Saloni from Houston.
Oh, hello.
Hare Krishna. My question, Dandavad Pranam. My question was about in the beginning, you were comparing Hamlet and Arjun. And you were saying the similarities and differences, how Hamlet did not have a guru while Arjun did. So my question was, if Hamlet had someone like Krishna, would the ending have been different?
I don't know. Yeah. Because in the Battle of Kurukshetra, Abhimanyu dies, yeah. And so maybe in the end, Hamlet also would have been poisoned by the so-and-so and like that, But the thing is, he would have, you see people like, some soldier, he's just going through all this stuff. If you look on the YouTube for like people who got the Medal of Honor, gosh, it's incredible. I mean, they deserve it. I mean, the kind of things they did to get the Medal of Honor is unbelievable. I mean, being shot 125 times, stabbed, going back and pulling their friends out and stuff is just incredible, And so so you ask them, why didn't you give up? You say, well, it was for the honor of the other soldiers and so on. So they're experiencing, some kind of bhava, rasa, Brahman, or Paramatma, but Hamlet was doing it because it was his duty. And that was it. That was the reason he realized, and it's a very high thing. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says in the end in chapter 2. You just do it because it's your duty. Don't think that you have a result to enjoy the results. So it might have ended the same way externally, but it would have been with a different flavor. When you come to Raga Nuga Bhakti, you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You're doing artis, but if you look at them, you can see, but she's making the offering in the mood of Mother Yashoda. Aha, she's making the Rajbhog offering as a cowherd boy. Aha. And so, it would have may have ended up the same way, but it would have been with a different feeling of why he was doing it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Manhani Mataji, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Guru and Gaurang. Maharaj, I have a very, very selfish question. How to get unlimited mercy of Krishna?
Okay. And I'm going to tell you you're asking the wrong question.
I'm asking the right person.
No, you're not. You're not. Your question is your question includes a demoniac perspective.
That's right.
Do you kind of, maybe not, but that's something is Krishna is already giving you unlimited mercy. Krishna is doing from his side, Krishna is doing the very, very best. Once upon a time, there was a big flood. Maybe you know this story. And one man was in his house, and then the water was coming up to the level of his front porch, maybe like, 2 feet deep or something, knee deep. And a big truck went by on the road, a big truck. And then the people yelled at him and said, "Quick, walk across your front yard and get in the truck here. We'll get you out." And he said, "No, I'm waiting for the mercy of God." Okay. So they went on, the water got higher, and he had to go up to the second story. And then a boat came by, and they said, "Just jump in the water and swim over here, and we'll pull you out. We'll get you out of here." And he said, "No, I want the unlimited mercy of God." So the water got higher, and he had to go out and was up on his roof, hanging onto the chimney. And a helicopter came. And then the big loudspeaker said, take the rope. We'll pull you out of here. And the man said, "No, I'm waiting for the unlimited mercy of God." So the helicopter's running out of gas. It went away. And then the man's alone on the roof, and the clouds separate. And a big light comes down on him. And a big voice says, "What are you waiting for? I've already sent a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." So I think that's kind of what it is. Of course, it's a big question. The whole Bhagavatam is based on this. But basically, that's say one perspective is that Krishna is already giving us so much. And what we have to do is just maybe be a little bit humble to accept that the mercy is coming in this kind of simple form, and that form. And then okay, it's enough mercy for the next 20 minutes. Okay. And I don't need any big thing like that. I got a little service to do. Let me do it. So Jayananda, the most humble person, was saying, "Hey, whatever, any service, just find some service and always be engaged in some service. Then everything else will follow from that." So does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, very much, because we don't see and we don't express our gratitude to Krishna on a daily basis, that we have eyes to take darshan of the deities and we have ears to hear katha from Vaishnavas. I think we always just think that it'll be a very miraculous, like clouds will separate and he will come in Chaturbhuj Roop and he will say, "Here is my mercy, take it." What I mean is like, sometimes we're doing and we get discouraged in service. And I know we have heard it, Utsa Nishya Dharya, so many times, but we think maybe you have some secret key, like maybe people or bhaktas or devotees who are already elevated have a special, special.
That verse is right there, the one you just quoted, Utsahan, just another point. Because you're going to, right now, you're going to get some ideas, they're going to help you. I get some ideas, they're going to help me. It's not, it's unlimited. The progress is unlimited. Krishna's mercy is always expanding. So Kirtanananda Swami told us, probably quoting Prabhupada, if you lose your enthusiasm, you can always find it in your intelligence. So one thing to do is just stop and sit down and just chant. You chant, take a deep breath and chant 3 mantras on one breath. Okay. And then almost always you'll be open to the mercy if you just do that. Just chant, stop and chant the Maha Mantra. And then think about things. What am I trying to do? I lost the goal. How can I do it? Oh, that's how I can do it. Okay, I can make progress here. And then you'll be enthusiastic. So chant Hare Krishna and then use your intelligence to clarify what is the goal? What am I trying to do? And how can I accomplish it? How can I make a
Thank
step?
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Maharaji. Mehika, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaji. So I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to share a realization.
Oh,
So I really liked the way that you explained and different characters from different movies and how
yeah.
you basically compared them.
Yeah.
So you explained a lot about how the person I forgot the name, but the other person and Arjuna.
Hamlet.
Yeah, Hamlet and Arjuna. And then my question, kind of small question there, was he didn't have a guru and Arjuna did, but in both cases it was okay case. Arjuna was in a better position than Hamlet was, but still both of them got the benefit.
Yeah. Yetam mam prapajante. Because what Hamlet got was to die a noble death. Dhritarashtra was not able to become a pure devotee because of his offensive character, but he was able to become Dhira, and he was able just to, just renounce everything and accept everything and die. And so he took birth in a better position. So maybe we die, realizing there is a reality, there is something worth fighting for, Brahman. Or we begin to realize that Krishna's in my heart, he's in so many things. So anyway, our Hamlet would then have, died an honorable death, accepting there is a superior force to me, there is destiny, and even if it will cost me my life, I got to do what is correct. Yeah. But our Arjuna came out of it, with Krishna personally and Krishna's personal relationships. And then after that, they went ahead and reestablished the kingdom with Krishna's personal feelings. Otherwise, it would have been too terrible. It was so horrible that Krishna took them after that to go ahead and start things again. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically my question was Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra, they all were very blind and they didn't see or didn't understand that they shouldn't do the war. But when Draupadi was when she was basically trying to get embarrassed in front, why did Dhritarashtra not stop? Was it just the blindness of what his son was doing, or he just turned blind completely? He had other people looking and told him.
Well, actually, very nice story. Akrura was the commander-in-chief of Maharaj Ugrasena, Senapati. So he could talk to, Dhritarashtra man to man, He was, you're the king and stuff, but we're both, almost socially and everything else and age. So he came to Hastinapur to see what was happening, after this and that. And he met Kunti and he met everybody. And he understood the situation. So in the Krishna book, in the end, he's talking to Dhritarashtra, and he tells him, he says, your sons are adharma, and all these things, and there's going to always catastrophe is going to happen. At least to treat the sons of your brother equally. Yeah. And so then Dhritarashtra says, Akrura, thank you for your free advice. Yeah. And he says, yes, and I know, I'm not a fool. I know that there is dharma, and the world is run by dharma. And when it's disturbed, it takes a human form. and it walks the earth. And I know that Dharma has taken the form of the son of Devaki. So he realized that Krishna was not an ordinary human being. Maybe he's Shaktivesh avatar or something, but at least he knew that. And he said, I know my sons are just heading for destruction, you know. But he said, I'm so attached. Dhritarashtra, holding on to the kingdom. He had this attachment, and maybe we can't even blame him that much, because somehow or other, and maybe he was trying. In the Peter Brook Mahabharata, Krishna shows a Virat Roop to everybody when they're trying to catch him in the palace. And Dhritarashtra becomes blind again, and he says to Krishna, he says, Krishna, I tried my best to avoid this. And then Krishna says, so did I. And so, you know, Dhritarashtra was in a certain level of confusion. Duryodhana was a Rakshasha in his life, and he just, like a dog or something. You can't blame a dog if he bites you or does something in many ways, because he's just a dog. You can't blame the sun if it gives you a sunburn. You know? But all of them, Krishna related to them in different ways, and he helped them all. You know?
Okay, thank you, Maharaji.
Jai. So,
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaji. So, Harila Babuji, there is no more questions. So,
good. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for accepting our invitation at Partsarthi Foundation and giving your nectarian class today. And tomorrow will be more.
Six more verses.
6 more verses, or like about 7 more verses. You did 3
7.
today.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
all
Okay.
the listeners, please be on time so we can begin our class on time also. Thank you so much, Maharaji, and I hope that you will keep coming to Partsarthi Foundation for the association whenever you get a chance.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you so much for your association. This is so enlivening. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। वैष्णववृंद की जय।
Thank you so much, Maharaji. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare Bol.
Krishna.
Madhubanjali Mataji. Hare Krishna, Madhubanjali Mataji.